I think we should talk about Batman. I think we should talk about Batman. Last week, as I am sure millions upon millions of people already know, The Dark Knight Rises was finally released into theaters. What have I thought about the other Christopher Nolan films? Can you hear that? There's thunder. There's a storm coming, Mr. Wayne. Batman Begins is a really good film, which is crazy because I didn't think that another origin story for Batman was going to work. It's not like most people don't understand how Batman became Batman. What happens in the last half of the film, however, is a little bit silly. There's a very overly complicated, ridiculous plot about how we're going to, heat up this water and release this toxin. But overall, this is a great setup to what this trilogy is going to be. Now, The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight is my boo. If this film were a woman, or a man, it doesn't even really matter for me, what I would do, I would just yeah. So I guess it's okay is what I'm trying to say. No, I really love this movie. And then we have The Dark Knight Rises, which also has some really awesome, great parts. And then some not so great parts. I don't think The Dark Knight Rises is a really, really good film. I think it's just a good film. By the way, before I move on, I should say spoilers coming up for The Dark Knight Rises. So if you don't want to, be that person, just skip to the end. I think that there's some key things that just don't work about this film, namely a lot of plot holes. We have Batman suddenly just arriving in Gotham City, back in Gotham City, when it's apparently no one can come across and no one can get out. We have Bane somehow doing the same thing and dropping him off into some pit in the Middle East somehow. I guess they chartered a plane and got there really super fast. There's also a lot of characters here that don't have as great of character moments as I think they really should, only because we're trying to cram so much story into 2 hours and 40 minutes. The one character this is true for in my mind is the Marion Cotillard character. What is her name? Maria Tate? Something like that. Her last name is Tate, and she eventually becomes Talia al Ghul. I wish that plot thread was introduced a little bit sooner. Her betrayal at the end doesn't really have the emotional resonance it should, only because I don't care about her. So when she stabs him in the back, literally and figuratively, it's like, oh, okay, I see what you're doing. But then there are just some awesome jaw-dropping moments. The photography and cinematography of this film, some of the best you're going to see this year. And especially the one scene that I thought was probably the best in the entire movie, which was the first time that Batman and Bane meet. Catwoman somewhat betrays him. The gate shuts, the music completely shuts off at that point, and it's just Batman, it's just Bane, and they try to do their little fist fight. He's much too overconfident, and Bane overtakes him, punches him out, breaks the mask, breaks his back, sprains his back because it was just kind of popped into place later. But that's awesome, you get those really great moments. And the ending, I think, pays off in most respects. I like how we wrap up all the character threads. I like how there's a little bit progression and hinting that there might be future Batman films, probably without Nolan. There's one slight change I wish they had made. Alfred, sitting there, believing it's in Rome, he gets his drink as they set up earlier in the film, and he looks across, and he smiles, and then they flip to show what he sees. And I wish they hadn't flipped over to see what he sees. I think it would have been so much better to have it just put out there that, hey, he might still be alive, which I'm pretty sure he is, just based on the autopilot thing for the entire friggin' movie. It also would have been cool if he had actually died and they had scrapped that plot altogether, only because of the line that's in The Dark Knight, which is, you live long enough to be the villain or you die a hero. And it would have kind of just summed up that thread, that plot thread, that thematic device through the entire trilogy. However, having said that, I think that this Batman trilogy, it ranks among the best trilogies of all time. It ranks up right next to Star Wars, right next to Lord of the Rings. What were your thoughts on the Christopher Nolan movies, any other movies, and what did you think about The Dark Knight Rises? Leave some comments down below, and if you so happen to want to, after having watched this, I do videos pretty much on a weekly basis. I did one on the Victorian internet. That's right, the Victorian internet last week. So you can go and watch that, and whatever I'm up to next week, I guess we'll find out what that is. Probably punching babies. Because I like me punching babies. That's exactly word for word what they said. The autopilot, blah 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 blah.